Hey there, how is everybody doing this week? I am actually slightly starstruck and super excited because Brad Yates is on with us today, and he doesn't know it, which is really good, but I've been stalking him for years and years. And Brad, if you don't know him or you haven't heard me talk about him, he does emotional freedom technique. And if you haven't worked with it before, you're going to love it. It's something that I've introduced some of the people in my groups to, and they're all always blown away by how effective it is. So thank you for being here today, and let's get with Brad. Hey,
Thank
Brad.
you.
Thank you. Thank you for being here.
Oh, my pleasure. Very excited to be here.
Yeah. So yeah, yep. I guess the word is out. I've been stalking you for a while.
And my wife asked you to please stop it, okay?
tell her I'm pretty benign most of the time. Yeah, no, it's true. It's funny that there are people that you find on the internet that just something about them catches your fancy. And you're just like, whoa, I want to learn what this person has to teach. And I want to keep learning because the way you teach it, really, like it makes things so interesting. So, but first, let's let people know what I've been talking about. Tell us about EFT, what it is, how it works, all those good things.
Yeah, absolutely. So EFT, as you said, short for emotional freedom techniques. Also, a lot of us just call it tapping these days, is literally a process of tapping with our fingertips on different places, primarily on the face and torso. And for anyone who hasn't heard of it before, I know that's going to sound a little strange, but there's a very good reason why we do this strange looking process. So originally it was discovered based on acupuncture. So for thousands of years in Chinese medicine, they've said there's a flow of energy through the body along these pathways called meridians. And when this energy is flowing naturally, we experience our natural state of health and well-being physically and emotionally. And when this energy gets stuck, we don't feel so good. We don't think as clearly. We don't make the best choices. And that has a lot of unfortunate consequences for ourselves and our lives. So in traditional acupuncture, the doctor would stick needles in these key points around the body, and we're just stimulating these same points with our fingertips by tapping on them, and it restores the energetic balance. We also have modern research showing that the tapping is lowering stress dramatically. We have chemical studies, cortisol studies showing that cortisol, one of the stress hormones, is dramatically reduced when we're doing the tapping, which has all kinds of benefits. And also we have fMRI studies now where we can see brain activity. My friend Dr. Peter Stapleton did was with food cravings. So she'd have somebody in the machine and looking at foods that they crave, and they could see what parts of the brain were lighting up, where the brain activity was, then went through a series of tapping, stuck them back in the machine, showed them the pictures, and those parts of the brain weren't lighting up anymore. So not
Wow.
only were they saying, I'm not feeling the craving anymore, and so we have tons of anecdotal evidence ever since tapping began of people saying, well, I feel different. But when you can see, okay, here's a machine showing the brain activity, and that is confirming what the experience is. So
Oh,
pretty
that's
profound.
interesting. Yeah. So tell me a little bit more about that, because I mean, I know that the group that listens to me, my audience, tends to be probably a little pragmatic, but open-minded, right? Open-minded. So tell us a little bit more about that. Like, it's cravings, but it's also emotions, right? Like changing emotions, changing triggers, changing habits.
Absolutely, because most of our behavior is done unconsciously and based on emotion. So, we never, for the pragmatic audience, a pragmatic person doesn't think, you know what, I need to eat something now. I need some nutrition. I think I'll get a box of Oreos. There's nothing pragmatic about eating food like that. Except to the mind, which was raised with cookies and cake represent parties and fun and happiness and celebrations. And so we have all of this emotional association to that. So when we're not feeling so good, when we're feeling stressed about something or upset about some conversation we've had, part of the mind, without thinking pragmatically at all, just says, it's going to feel better. Go get some cookies. Go eat a pint of ice cream. And, we'll deal with the consequences later. But right now, I don't feel good and I want to do this. But that uncomfortable feeling is in the energy system, or it's a stress response. And so as we do the tapping and we lower that, we are able to clear the uncomfortable feeling that is driving our behavior, such that we can say, what do I really want to do? Hey, if I
Mm,
really want to feel better, I could go for a hike or riding those endorphins going and really feel good in a natural, healthy way.
right. And that's such a good question too. It's like at the end, it's like, what do I really want?
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
just want to feel good. Most of the decisions, if not all of the decisions at some level, we could probably say that pretty much every choice we make is based on what will make me feel better. And and we can look at that and say, well, that's not true, because I do all kinds of things. I may have unfortunate habits, like maybe it's smoking or overeating, or whatever the unhealthy behavior is. And it's like, well, but so what's going on there? But there's some old programming that says it makes me feel better, even though any benefit that I got from it may be long gone, and I may only be aware of the negative consequences. But there's still that part of me that unconsciously falls into that habit of saying, this will make me feel better based on something that I experienced maybe long ago. So that's why I always tell people, with your unhealthy behavior, uh, with all the things you do to that get in the way of what you really want, which is health, wealth, and happiness, then it's the way I like to put it is, self-sabotage is simply misguided self-love. We're trying to make ourselves feel better in a way that may be totally illogical, but something inside of us says, this will make me feel better. This will protect me. It'll keep me safer from some threat, that something that years ago I learned was threatening to my well-being, to my ego, whatever it might be. And so that's why we continue to engage in that behavior. And we're coming off of this uncomfortable, stressful feeling. So we don't really have the chance to sit there and say, well, okay, I know I'm uncomfortable, but what do I really want? And what would really be the most pragmatic
Right.
thing?
What would be the
So,
smartest decision, not
yeah,
the I want it now decision?
yeah. Usually that's by the time we're down to the last quarter of the pint of ice cream, it's like, what am I doing?
Right.
That's when we start to ask. It's like, so to have something as quick and simple as tapping to help to calm down that stress response, to where we can really stop and go, what do I really want here?
So, okay. So the flip side of that, let me ask you this. And I don't think I've ever used tapping for this, but what if somebody wants to, let's say that they want to start exercising more,
Hmm.
okay? They want to get
And who
more
doesn't?
consistent, right? But there's always other reasons to not do it.
Oh
So
yeah.
how do you use tapping in that situation?
Yeah. And we are brilliant at coming up with reasons. I that's the thing is, again, why I always say, be compassionate with yourself when whether it's an unhealthy habit or it's a resistance to healthy habits, because there may be all sorts of reasons why we're not doing it. We may be afraid of the consequences of being in better shape. I might be
Mm,
afraid people will be more attracted to me, and that could lead to all kinds of trouble. If I convince myself I'm less attractive, then I feel safer. Or if I'm in better shape, people are going to start expecting things from me, or they're going to ask me to go and do things. And if I'm not feeling quite that healthy, maybe there'll be fewer expectations of me. So there's all kinds of possible things going on inside the mind. And it may just be that we tell ourselves, well, I don't feel like it. And I'm lazy, which I don't believe in. I don't believe in laziness. It's a cover up for fear. There's something that
Mm-hmm.
we're afraid of, because we can find all kinds of places where, with the right motivation, we will take action.
Right.
So
Right.
it's a matter of what's going on here. And maybe, well, I'm afraid it's going to be boring. Well, then find an exercise that's not boring.
Sure. Or what if somebody feels guilty because they're spending their time on themselves instead of on their family or
Right. And so that may be one of the many reasons. So I would have someone say, well, and let's do this. So everybody close your eyes, take a deep breath, and think about that exercise that you think you probably should be doing, and maybe part of you actually wants to, and just feel what goes on inside your body. Say, I am excited to do this, and rate that on a scale of 0 to 10. And then check in with what you feel in your body, what emotions are there, what physical sensations might be there, and notice what thoughts, beliefs, and memories might come up that stop that from being a 10. So there might be all kinds of different things that are coming up that cause a stress response such that the resistance to exercise is stronger than the motivation. Action happens when the motivation outweighs the resistance. So it's looking at, where is that resistance? And that resistance comes up as a stress response. So we tap to, to clear the stress response. And we find that, oh, that reason that I've been coming up with doesn't necessarily make sense. The idea of, well, I'd feel guilty if I took time away from my family. We start to uncover, well, that may be a cover up for something else. Because one, I could find ways to exercise with my family. Or two, when I'm healthier, that serves my family. The better my health, the better the service I can provide to my family. And my family wants me to be around for a long time. So I want to be healthy enough to be there. It's like, well, I'm sorry that I'm leaving you all so early, but I just had to give so much to you that I had no time to take care of my health.
totally
Self-care is not selfish.
right.
It is a gift to others, for us to be, it's, I like to talk about the goose that lays the golden eggs. You got to take care of that goose so the goose can keep laying those golden eggs.
Yeah, man, that is so, so true. So true. So, um, all right. So a little bit more. Let me ask you a couple more things about this. So
Mhm.
this is what you do. You tap. You tap for a living.
I
You've written
tap
books
on my
about it.
face for a living.
That's right. But you're also like, there's a lot of international summits that you do that are all around tapping, aren't there?
The Tapping World Summit is just finishing up this week. Yeah. I've been speaking on that since it started 13 years
Right.
ago. Yeah.
Right. Yes. In fact, I've seen you on that before. And so, okay. So is tapping also like hypnosis? How do those things similar and how are they so far apart that I'm crazy?
Yeah. You want me to tell you how you're crazy?
Sure,
Jeez,
go
Kelly.
for it.
I'm not a doctor, so I can't diagnose that. But no, and I started out as hypnotherapist. Well, I started as an actor, which is where I played a doctor on TV. Then I became a hypnotherapist, and then I got into tapping. So they are similar in that they're both ways of changing our mind, giving ourselves the opportunity to go in and tweak some of the beliefs, some of the information or misinformation more often. Because once we learn something, part of us clings to that. In order for us to operate, we need to just sort of take things for granted. When I get up in the morning, I need to know that I'm not going to float up to the ceiling. I need to know where the bathroom is. I need to know, these different things. I don't want to have to figure out every day how to move my feet forward so that I can get across the room. And so we take this on with all kinds of different things, including our beliefs about health, our beliefs about money, our beliefs about relationships. whatever it might be. So we just have these instinctual responses to that. So what we want to do is be able to break up that pattern and be able to make changes. So hypnosis and tapping both work in different ways to allow uh, to allow ourselves to down regulate the stress response when we try to make a change, because that's what happens. We have a mini
Right.
stress response when we try to make a change. Something says this isn't right, and it
Right.
has also has a lot to do with our identity. I often write notes to myself someplace where it says I'm an athlete, because if I think of myself as an athlete, getting up in the morning and working out is just a given. If I think of myself as a couch potato, then every time I exercise, I know that it's against my identity. So, so we want to shift our perception of who we are, because no one is born a couch potato. we are naturally athletic.
Uh-huh.
We are, you know, as that great philosopher Bruce Springsteen said, we were born to run. You know, as children, we love to move.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, and then it gets to a point where it's no longer play, now it's exercise,
Right.
and that has that oh, that doesn't sound like fun.
That's a have to instead of a want to.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So when we think about it, there's a stress response, this feeling of discomfort of, oh, it's a have to, instead of I get to. So the tapping breaks up that stress response, and likewise in hypnosis, we're just going into a relaxed place where the body experiences less stress, and so the mind is more open to suggestion.
So basically, it's lowering stress,
Yeah.
whatever we do, to
Right.
get to the point where we can actually start making informed decisions and actions.
Yeah, it's reducing that resistance so that we can go in and see things differently.
Right. Right. And it's interesting. Like I actually had a big chat with one of my clients this morning because she wants to be an athlete, but she is so far from seeing herself as an athlete. And so we're just like doing all the things for her to start seeing herself as an athlete. But I did not think about her using tapping for this, but it would be perfect.
Yeah, to take all those reasons why, you know, ask her on a scale of 0 to 10, how strongly can you see yourself as an athlete, and what would it take for that to be a 10, and what are the reasons why it's not a 10? You know, oh well, I haven't really this and that. It's like, well, that doesn't, you know. And as you tap and the stress comes down and we start to see, well, it's possible those reasons that I'm coming up with aren't true. You know, there's probably a time where she was athletic, if nothing else, as a child, because all children,
Right.
all, you know, all, unless there's some physical restraint, and even with that, to some extent, whatever extent possible, kids are naturally, you know, moving and athletic.
Yeah. Kids are mobile. All right. I have a couple more questions for you. One of them is that when you start with the tapping, and if you don't mind, I would love for you to demonstrate. And for everybody
I don't mind.
listening, if you aren't watching this on YouTube, you need to go over to our YouTube channel and take a gander at this. But for the rest of you who are just listening, Brad can walk us through this. But there's a question that always comes up: is why do you talk about quote unquote negative things at the beginning?
Yeah, great question, Kelly. And that does throw a lot of people, because when we're doing the tapping, and I sometimes start around with a positive, and I'll tap through affirmations, you know. And when we're tapping, we can get a lot of benefit from the tapping without saying anything. It's more effective when we target in on something. So it is primarily a cleaning process. We're cleaning stress.
Mm,
So when you are cleaning something, you got to focus on what's there.
you got to find the
So
dirt first.
yeah, you know, if your dog leaves you a not so pretty gift on your carpet, you're not going to say, I'm just going to look at where my carpet is clean. I'm not going to, I refuse to acknowledge the quote unquote negative. you got to look at the poop in your life so you can clean it up. Otherwise, one, you're kidding yourself, because part of your brain is very much focused on the poop. So you're not really avoiding it. And two, you're in danger of stepping in and spreading it around. So it's not, so definitely, I totally adhere to the idea of positive thinking. Focus on the positive as much as possible, but what you resist persists. So you don't want to just sit there on the couch looking at the poop and going, oh, there's poop on my carpet. But you do want to say, hey, there's poop, clean it up, and now it's gone. And now I can enjoy my living room again. So with all of these things that come up, these quote unquote negative feelings, and I say that because I don't believe in negative feelings. Every emotion has a purpose. Just some are more uncomfortable and can get in our way more than others. So we have to address what's there to be able to get it out of the way and process it. And it's not that, like they're bad things we have to get rid of, like poop. But it's a matter of processing it. We have emotions for a reason. We want to get the value from them. Like anger is like a smoke detector. And the smoke detector is uncomfortable, but it lets you know there's something to deal with. So we don't want to just, when the smoke detector is going off, we don't want to just shut it off and not check to see if there's a fire in the kitchen or something like that. So we want to acknowledge it, find out what's going on there. And either there's a fire that needs to be put out, or I just need to change the batteries, or, there's some misunderstanding. But we want to be grateful for that message that, hey, there's something to pay attention to.
It's really good. Yeah, that's a really good point. You're right. Okay. So before we do a tapping, what else should people know? Just like, I mean, I realize you've done your entire life. So sorry. Can you just slip it into 5 minutes?
Yes. You should know that a dog's mouth is cleaner than a human's. You should know that go into random facts. These are things people should know. I think that's enough of a primer for right now. There's, certainly a million things we could go into in terms of how it can be beneficial and why we stop ourselves. But I think right now a hands-on, literally, demonstration would probably be beneficial.
Okay. All right.
So, what do you want to tap on?
Ooh.
What do you think your audience would?
Well, okay, you said something kind of interesting, because we have Sugar Freedom Week coming up right now when you go live.
I was just going to say, should we go back to that thing about the sugar?
Didn't you say that, like, right now you're not doing sugar, and chocolate was the first thing that you tapped on?
When I took my first workshop with Gary Craig, the founder of EFT, one of the things that he did was he passed around Hershey's Kisses and asked people, on a scale of 0 to 10, how much do you want that chocolate? And I was a bit of a chocoholic at the time, and I was like 8 or 9. And we just tapped for a couple of minutes, and I could not eat the chocolate. I had as much interest in it as the foil wrapper, and I did not eat chocolate for 2 years after that.
Wow.
Now, don't worry, I got better. I recovered.
Okay.
But I can also very easily, like right now, I'm on a sugar fast, and it's not a willpower thing. I tap away the cravings such that I can look at chocolate and it just doesn't look like food. There's nothing in me that says, oh yes, I should eat this right now. We have right now in the freezer, we have some half empty containers of Ben and Jerry's. That's one of, when I am eating sugar, that's certainly one of my guilty pleasures. But right now it's like, I just don't go there because there's nothing in me. So there's no willpower. It's not a matter of, must not open freezer.
Right.
It's just not what I'm looking for when I go to have something to eat.
Well, I like that you said that. I mean, you basically have tapped away the craving. Yeah.
Tapped away the interest.
Yeah. So I'm going to let you do this. I will follow along with my hand. I'm not going to speak so that it doesn't throw off the recording, but go ahead. Let's tap away a little sugar issue here.
All right. So I'm going to show you, take us first the basics of emotional freedom techniques. So what you're going to do is take the index and middle finger, and using your fingertips, you're going to tap gently on the side of your opposite hand. So right there between your wrist and your pinky on the edge of your hand. And just gently tap in there. And that's where we do the setup phrase. So we would say, okay, let's say I have a craving for ice cream right now. And it can be whatever it is for you. If it may be cookies, or it may be potato chips, it may not even be sugar. So actually close your eyes and think about, what is your problematic indulgence that you would like to let go of at the moment. And it's got to be something you want to let go of. When we're doing that exercise with the Hershey's Kisses, someone in the audience said, "You ruined French fries for me. Do not ruin chocolate for me." Because she had already tapped on French fries and couldn't eat French fries anymore. And she didn't want to lose out on chocolate. She wasn't ready to let that go. So it's got to be something that part of you would like to let go of, at least for, the meantime. So with your eyes closed, imagine that food and notice on a scale of 0 to 10, how much you would like to have that right at this moment. And rate that on a scale of 0 to 10. Notice whatever physical symptoms you might feel. And now, so we would tap on the side of the hand and say, even though I really want this right now, I choose to love and accept myself. We'd repeat that 3 times. Then we would tap on the eyebrow point. So right at the beginning of your eyebrow, just above the nose, just about in the middle of your face, and gently tap in there. And generally we tap 5 to 10 times, but depending on the phrase that we're saying, it might be longer. So don't be counting it out and going, "Oh, I went 11 times, not going to work now." So we would tap the eyebrow point and say, "This craving." Follow the eyebrow out to the corner of your eye, tap in the side of your eye and say, "This craving." Then following the edge of your eye socket to right under your eye, "This craving." Right under your nose, just above your upper lip, "This craving." Then right below your lower lip, just above your chin, "This craving." Then your collarbone. So if you feel where your collarbones just about meet, there's a little bit of a U shape at the base of your throat. And you can use all of your fingertips or even make a fist and tap right where the collarbones just about meet and say, "This craving." Next point is about 4 inches below your armpit. It's right about bra strap level. And I'm sure even the guys can figure out where that is. "This craving." And finally, the top of your head. So with all of your fingertips, tap it around the crown of your head and say, "This craving." Take a deep breath. So that's what we call EFT in a nutshell, the very basic version. So now you know the points. Now you could use tapping on whatever was coming up that was bothering you. You rate how strong it is. What is it? This craving, this anger, this fear, and then tap through those points. And then you would, so after tapping, you'd take a deep breath and then you'd rate it again and say, okay, if it was in an 8, maybe it came down to a 0 like that. That happens sometimes. That's how it happened for me with chocolate. Sometimes it'll go from an 8 to a 7.75. And as you go through, you may have some more awareness. It's often like peeling the layers of an onion. And as we're tapping through, it's like, oh, the reason I want ice cream right now is because I'm upset about this project that I'm working on. And I just had this flashback to when I was 5 years old and my mom said, "Oh, are you upset? Here, have some ice cream. It'll make you feel better." For Harry Potter fans, at that time when there was a Dementor and Professor Lupin said, "Here, have some chocolate. It'll make you feel better." So we get more awareness and then we can tap on those specific events. Oh, even though mom told me I should have some ice cream when I wasn't feeling good. And we can then clear out some of these old patterns. So that's how the process works. Now we're going to have some fun with it. We're going to tap the way I like to tap. So again, with your eyes closed, go ahead and think about whatever craving you have. I'm going to say sugar, and you can say sugar, you can say potato chips, you can say bread if you want to be specific. So if it's, Toll House chocolate chip cookies, Snickers bars, whatever your drug of choice is here, feel free to think of that right now. Rate it on a scale of 0 to 10 as to how much you crave that. Take a deep breath, open your eyes, and tap on the side of your hand. Even though I'm craving this sugar, I choose to love and accept myself. Even though I really want this, I choose to love and honor myself. Even though I'd really like to have some sugar right now, something inside me is saying, some sugar would really hit the spot. And it would be like Calgon and take me away from all my problems. Sugar, take me away. And even though I really want some sugar right now, I choose to deeply and completely love, honor, and accept myself. And maybe anyone else who has contributed to these cravings. Now, tapping on the eyebrow point. All this craving for sugar. And again, you can also say whatever it is that you might be craving. Tapping your side of your eye. All of this craving. Under the eye. Part of me really wants this right now. Under the nose. It would taste so good. Under the mouth. It would be so yummy right now. Collarbone. Oh, sure, there would be consequences later. Under the arm. But right now, it'd be worth it. Top of the head. Part of me is saying, eyebrow point, the pleasure I get from eating it right now, side of the eye, would totally be worth all the consequences. Under the eye. Part of me knows better. Part of me is saying, are you kidding? Under the mouth. We're going to be beating ourselves up later. Collarbone. I choose to knock that off too. Under the arm. I'm clearing any need to beat myself up for what I eat. Top of the head. Because I'm eating it just to take care of myself. Eyebrow point. Maybe not in a logical way. Side of the eye. But in the moment, it makes me feel better. Under the eye. And I choose to love and appreciate that part of me. Under the nose. That wants me to feel better. Under the mouth. And I'm allowing myself to find healthier ways to do that. Collarbone. So that I can feel better long term. Under the arm. I want to feel a whole lot better. Top of the head. In every fiber of my being. Eyebrow point. Not just in my taste buds. Side of the eye. I choose to take care of more of me. Under the eye. And part of this craving for sugar onto the nose, is because part of me says, onto the mouth, it'll make some uncomfortable feeling go away. Collarbone. I'm letting that uncomfortable feeling go away right now anyway. Onto the arm. I'm letting the tapping take that away. Top of the head. I'm allowing myself to get clear. Eyebrow point. About anything that I need to know right now. Side of the eye. Is there some problem going on? Onto the eye that needs a solution. And part of me knows that sugar is not really the solution. I'll feel better for a moment, but the problem's still going to be there. I'm allowing myself to find real solutions. Top of the head, and I'm allowing myself to feel better right now. Eyebrow point. In a certain way, side of the eye, as I give myself this self-care of tapping, onto the eye, I'm giving myself some sugar. Onto the nose, without the actual processed sugar. Onto the mouth, I'm treating myself with much more love. Collarbone, which gives me the freedom to live a whole lot better. Onto the arm, and I'm loving myself in the process. Top of the head, in body, mind, and spirit. Take a deep breath. Close your eyes, go inside, and think about whatever particular food you were thinking of, and on a scale of 0 to 10, notice how much you might want it right now. And again, that may have come down dramatically. It may be like it was for me, and you may go 2 years without eating, or you may never eat it again. There are people, it's like, wow, I have no desire. Why would I ever eat that again? And it may just be, well, I might be able to resist it right now. I still would like to have it, but yeah, I could probably do without it right now. And allow yourself to be aware of what's going on in there. And you may have some specific memories that came up, and you can go through and tap on those particular events and continue to clear out the stress that motivates that kind of eating. And that gives you much greater freedom. So, you know, emotional freedom techniques is the emotional freedom to make better food choices and make better choices about everything, including your exercise and how you deal with other people, and yeah, pretty much everything.
Wow. Well, thank you. That was quite the treat and quite the gift. Yeah.
My pleasure.
So, okay, I know that they can find you at your website, which is Tap with Brad. And of course, it's going to be in the show notes, and we'll put you in the newsletter and everything else we do. But tell us a little bit more about how people can find you and what they should know.
Yeah, thanks. So yeah, tapwithbrad.com is my website, and that has links to all the other places that you can find me on. And it is Tap with Brad on Instagram and YouTube and Facebook and Twitter. And I think my daughter put me on TikTok even, but I don't know. I don't think we have any content there yet. So. People keep coming up with new platforms. Like, I'm out there enough. I've got over 1,000 videos on YouTube. So, you know, whatever's bothering you, there's a tap for that.
That's true. That's awesome. Thank you so much. And for everybody listening, if you happen to hear this when we go live, it is Sugar Freedom Week. You can go to just simply fitisfreedom.com/sugar reset, and that will get you into the group. And I can promise you, we're going to be tapping along with Brad during that week, without a doubt. So, yeah. Yes. Anything else you'd like to let people know about before we sign off?
I, no, I love that fit is freedom, because that's, obviously doing emotional freedom techniques. Freedom is such a key word for me. And it really is, as we, look at life and all the things we want to experience, that freedom of having our body be healthy. It's, as I was working out this morning, I imagine things like when I travel. So like when my wife and I were in Rome, and we, one day walked 13 miles all around the city, and to have the health and well-being to be able to do that, to be able to, in Alaska, we hiked on a glacier. And so having the fitness to be able to experience the world, is that kind of freedom really is wonderful. So I think it's great what you're doing, and I appreciate the opportunity to share this technique, this emotional freedom techniques, so that people can have experience more of the freedom that comes with fitness.
Ah, thank you. Thank you so much for being here, Brad. Really appreciate it.
My pleasure.